Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Hey, everybody. It's Paul Carruthers. I'm the communication manager for MotoAmerica. I've got Sean Bice next to me, and we make up the podcast Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. And down below, we have Jake Lewis, who's our special guest today. I got to say, it's a slender-looking Jake Lewis, svelte, I might say. And I know that's important for you this year, racing Supersport, more so than obviously racing King of the Baggers, is your weight, because you're racing against, 12-year-olds, right? Who don't weigh much. So is that been a big part of your off-season work?
I mean, a little bit for sure. I get tired of being called a fat ass when in reality, I'm a normal sized guy. I mean, I'm 6'3", and I was like 210 last year though, which was a little bit definitely too heavy. So it's definitely been a priority this off season. And I do feel a lot better already. And we still have a couple of months until Supersport season starts up, but Daytona's right around the corner. And that's one of my goals this year. With 3 classes, I'm going to be pretty dang busy. So just being in shape, eating cleaner, and no drinking this year. So feeling a lot better, and it's paying off. I definitely feel like I look a little bit thinner, but still got a ways to go, and want to get back down to my fighting weight where I was 2 years ago when I was on the Superbike class. And I just feel better on the bike and can last a lot longer in the races. Last year I didn't take it super serious riding the bagger, 620-pound bike. I didn't think it would matter that much. But then when I got the call to fill in for Corey, it makes a huge, huge difference in Supersport. I mean, those kids, they're a lot younger than me, but then also they're 140, 150 pounds. And then especially with PJ in the class this year, he's probably in the 130 pounds. So no matter what, I'm going to be heavier than the guys just because of my height. I'm 6'3", and it's definitely tough trying to stay lean and light throughout the year, but it'll be worth it for sure.
Well, Daytona's got to be the worst, right?
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, I'm not doing the 200. I don't know if anyone knows that. Yeah, not doing the 200, but on the Hooligan and Bagger, I mean, there's some good bonus programs for those, and the team's been working hard on those 2 bikes. So Daytona's one of the biggest horsepower tracks we go to.
Yeah, Jake, so do you think as you get older, do you find it more difficult to lose weight than you used to? I mean, with metabolism and all that, do you notice it at all?
I think so for sure, but
shit, he's still too young for that.
I think some of the reason everyone, just thinks I was bigger this year is just because, I've been a beanpole my whole life. And, ever since I was racing, being this tall, I was never really over 170, 175 pounds, which is tough for me. And then last year, I just kind of ate whatever I wanted to, drank whatever I wanted to, and didn't put in the work like I used to back in the day. And it definitely showed. I still felt like I was riding good, but being lighter and fitter is definitely better. Makes you more mentally strong. And on the little bike, it made a heck of a difference.
Yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this this way, but we know each other well enough. I'm just going to come out. You kind of surprised me on the Supersport bike. You actually did really, really well. And I was concerned after this amount of time that, the bike is a smaller bike. Now, of course, 750, you're going to be on 750 this year, but it is a Supersport bike still. And you are super tall. So did it surprise you, or do you feel pretty comfortable on a Supersport bike?
No, I feel comfortable, and I was honestly pretty bummed with how I did. I didn't think I did that great. Like I started off pretty slow at MotoAmerica. I hadn't been on a Supersport bike since 2014, so almost 10 years. And I didn't do that good until, the Ridge, and I started picking up momentum. I was 4th there, but the joke around the pits, like with my buddies and even Rispoli and all those guys, it was 6. I could never break that 6th mark. But then at New Jersey, the last round, I felt good on the bike previously, but at Jersey in the dry, I qualified 2nd and was less than a 10th off pole of Tyler Scott. But that track didn't have as much stop and go. You come onto the straightaway with some momentum. So that alone really motivated me for coming into this year, just to see and to know mentally that my weight was definitely holding me back at the stop and go tracks. Like at Coda, I was fast for the infield, but then we would get on the back straightaway and I would just get absolutely yarded from the kids. And this year, I definitely need to be more in shape. And I'm looking forward to Supersport, trying to get some redemption.
Like, I agree with Sean. I was surprised. I thought you did really well on the Supersport bike, but obviously a racer's a racer, and that just wasn't what you wanted, and you wanted more. But you did do really well, all things considered. You were kind of thrown into it, and you're a little large, a little rotund. So yeah, it all worked out good. Now with it's ironically you finished seventh, or it's probably coincidentally, not ironically, but you finished seventh in both championships. Your finishing positions, actually, like you had some podiums on the Supersport bike, but you didn't on the baggers. Is making the next step on the baggers more difficult?
I think so. That's like a big priority of mine and the team. The Team Saddlemen guys have been busting their butts and trying to prepare for this season. They've spent a lot of money, time, and effort to get us up closer towards the front, but then again, it comes down to support. A lot of our support comes from the factory itself with Harley Davidson, and with James joining and Kyle, it depends on how much support they give us, honestly. It's a little bit frustrating as a rider, having to wait around and hoping you're going to get the good stuff and all of that stuff. But then again, it was the Team Saddlemen's first year with Harley Davidson, so they had a lot to figure out and a lot to learn, and they're still fairly new to racing, so they need to figure some stuff out themselves. But I think going into this year, we'll be a lot better prepared than we were for Daytona last year. I mean, going into Daytona last year, I'd only had probably 11 laps total on the bike, so just kind of getting thrown into the deep end. I never really rode a bagger, so I feel a lot better mentally going into this season. And then also doing the Hooligan class. I mean, I'm pretty dang excited for that. Harley Davidson Pan America, and it looks like Roland Sands changed the rules around a little bit to get us closer to those front two guys. The Indians were absolutely smoking everyone last year, but the team's put a lot of effort and emphasis on that class as well. So I'm looking forward to all three classes. I think be fighting for top positions in all three of them, hopefully.
And the Saddlemen team got a little bit smaller rider-wise for the baggers anyway, right? I mean, that might help. They probably were stretched pretty thin it was a big team for a first-year effort.
Oh, it's a huge team. Like I said, they put 4 riders into the deep end, spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and then resources as well. We had 4 riders with myself, Corey, Patricia, and Frankie. But going into this year, they made some changes, and Patricia is going to be kind of more of a team manager role, and I'm not sure about Frankie. Unfortunately, he's not going to be with the team, but we got Travis Wyman joining myself and Corey, and I think that'll help a lot, honestly, because Travis has rode for the factory the past 2 seasons, I believe, and just the knowledge he'll bring from the factory will help us. And then also we got a new mechanic joining the fold, so they'll have 2 full-time mechanics on hand at the shop 24/7 pretty much, and this the year of knowledge and notes and all of that stuff will help us coming into this season.
And Travis knows what the good stuff is.
Yeah, exactly.
He may also know where they keep it, so you can sneak in there at night.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing with baggers. I mean, they've come to such a high level in development, and Harley's a huge corporation, but it's definitely like, you have Yamaha, Suzuki, all of that corporate, but I think when you go to Harley Davidson, it's a completely different world as far as corporate and stepping on toes and sharing all the information and notes. So I think it'll be exciting for Travis to hop on one of our Team Saddlemen bikes, because he's been on the factory bikes, and then he'll jump right on ours. So he'll know the differences and feel the differences immediately. So I think that'll help us even farther progress for the season. And like I said, we got a new mechanic. He's actually coming from Vance and Hines and was wrenching on Hayden's bike last year. So he'll have some stuff up his sleeve too. So I think it's going to be exciting all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's a step up, Jake. Even with the name of the team, I mean, it was Team Saddlemen, and it may still be that on the entry list, but they have this thing called Saddlemen Race Development Team now, which really points out that you guys are developing race bikes and racing. So it's very committed with the three of you guys. You have a few things on your team, the factory Harley team, and I don't even think Vance and Hines has. I talked to Corey West last year about how you've got that 2-caliper, 2 brake systems on the rear of the bike. Did you use that last year at all?
Yeah, we didn't start using it till probably Laguna though, so it was pretty late in the season, and we were just looking at the other bikes, the factory Harleys and the Vance and Hines bikes. I'm not sure about Indian, but they had the hand brake or the thumb brake as far as using the rear brake. And on the baggers, you got to use the heck out of the rear brake because you're trying to stop a 620-pound bike, and sometimes it's just kind of inconvenient to try to place your foot on the pedal going into the right-handers. So we switched over to the thumb brake, and it was kind of a weird looking setup with 2 calipers, but it got the job done.
Well, that's the thing. And I want to make a point about this distinction. So I know that the Harley bikes have the factory Harley, the Screaming Eagle team has a thumb brake, and they also have a foot brake, but it's the same system. So it's whichever one you use, it's going to the same caliper. Your deal was you had a thumb brake going to a separate caliper from a foot brake going to a separate caliper. So Corey West said he would go into some of the turns. He would be on the brake with his foot and on the brake with his thumb. So he would be using 3 brake systems in turns sometimes. Did you do any of that at all?
No, I mean, I don't think that's the ideal way to do it, but I haven't talked to the team. I don't know if that's actually what we're doing this year, like with the 2 calipers again or not. I haven't. That's one question I haven't asked. I think they'll just prepare what's best for us. Like I said, getting Ricky from Vance and Hines, and then Matty is going to be my mechanic, and he's full time at the Saddlemen shop. So I know those guys are busting their ass to give us the best equipment possible for Daytona, and we'll definitely be more prepared. And the team owner, Dave Eckert, he wants results this year, and he's put in a lot of effort and money. And I think the whole image of the team will look good, and it's an exciting year for us.
So there'll be some races where you race 3 classes.
Yeah, I looked. I have it written down on the calendar. Just I think not until July, maybe Laguna or something. I'll race 3 classes, but there's 3 or 4 rounds where I'll do 3 classes, the Hooligan, Supersport, and baggers, which I was going to do at Laguna this past year, but then we had a problem with the Hooligan bike, so I just did 2. But on Friday, I did 3 classes, and it was like back to back to back, 3 in a row. And it's definitely tough, so that's why I just need to get in shape for sure and feel better for this year because it's going to be busy. And then there's a chance at making some good money and doing good results on all 3 bikes.
You know how to get ready too, because I think, I remember back it seems like 100 years ago that we used to ride bicycles out here when the Haydens had their house, and you'd come out here with Nikki and Raj and the whole crew, and you'd work every day, and you had Nikki to watch who, he was a maniac. So what to do. It's just, which has to help you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the biggest thing about being in shape and being ready for racing is yourself and self-motivation. I know exactly what to do. And JD Beach lives 20 minutes up the road, and he's going back to road racing this year. And then also we have the Essenson guys. Their shop's actually based here in Owensboro. So Dallas Daniels and Tom Drain, one of the top 450 flat track guys, live here in Owensboro full time throughout the year. So I have good training partners, and looking forward to putting in the work. I know what it takes to run up front, and going to do that for sure this year. And then just the opportunities both teams have gave me is huge. Both teams I think are pretty top notch and working hard and spending a lot of money and time and effort to give me the equipment. So I need to give that back to them.
Yeah, Jake, do you know? So Brandon White, who is the owner of M3 Motorsports, the team that Max Flinders races for, Max has told us that Brandon wants Max to race in Superbike and baggers at the same time. So Brandon has thought that helps Max actually ride better in baggers. So from your perspective, 3 bikes, how do you feel about that? Does the extra seat time help you? Is it confusing? How do the teams feel about it? Are they all good on everything, or are there any issues at all with that?
It's kind of a tough question because all 3 bikes are completely different. It was tough jumping from the bagger to the Supersport bike because they're just completely different and the way they do things. And 3 bikes is going to be even more tough. But in a way it can help you, and in some ways it probably can hurt you, but you just got to look at the positives as far as what I'm doing. You get more track time, and I just think that helps. Being on a bike and getting more laps around the track you're going to race at is more helpful in my opinion. And the teams, I was a little bit nervous to ask the Saddlemen guys for permission to ride Supersport for Altus, but both teams were completely fine with it, which is super thankful that happened, because the Team Saddlemen and Dave Eckert and his whole crew are taking care of me really, really good. And then with George, he's putting in a big effort this year, just focusing on Supersport. So thankful for both of those teams for giving me the opportunity and kind of to show what I got. It's going to be an exciting year going after 3 different class championships.
Yeah, let's talk about Altus Motorsports a little bit, because I was so delighted when that announcement came in that you were going to be riding for them. I try to talk to George and Jeanette as much as I can, and that team, of course, they had a tough time last year. Eric Gray had passed away, their crew chief and team manager, and it was a tough situation from them. They had to kind of pivot from that. You were with that team before. They've kind of gotten things back together, brought you in. They're really excited to have you back with the team again. I know Jarrett Nassani, your teammate, is very excited for it too. Tell us about being with that team before and getting the call up from them. Have you just maintained a good relationship with them all over time?
Yeah, I mean, one of my priorities is just to be friendly and to stay in touch with really everyone that I've rode with and meet in the paddock, just because you never know. Can you guys still see me?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, sorry. Someone's calling me. Yeah. So that's just one of my main focuses, to keep a good relationship with everybody. And the Altus guys, I mean, obviously when you win a championship with a team, you keep more in touch with them, but they for real were like a family for me, with George and Jeanette. So last year, they were struggling really bad after Eric Gray passed away. And
yes,
there was even some races that Jarrett was thinking about quitting racing, and we had a good relationship when we were teammates a couple of years ago, and I helped him out throughout the year. And this off season, after riding Supersport again, I kind of had the itch to come back to Supersport because I didn't feel like I did the best, and I wanted some redemption. So I was actually the one who reached out to George and the son Jordan, who runs kind of the motocross side of things, and I reached out to them kind of hoping to get an opportunity to ride Supersport again, and kind of use the scenario of me helping Jarrett. It seemed like every time I went out on track last year, I had a tow strap on my bike for him to follow me. And I kind of used I would help him as kind of a rider coach. So I think it'll be good. We have a good relationship, and the Suzuki 750 is a good bike. And honestly, I think MotoAmerica did a great job towards the midway end of the year. All the bikes were pretty dang equal, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, when there's different displacements and different bikes, I mean, people have different opinions, but the racing was really good in Supersport, and I think it'll be an exciting year.
So that actually, sorry, Paul, I just one more on this. So that actually explains something to me, because regarding the situation with Jarrett and you racing in Supersport, because I never asked George or Jeanette this, and I haven't asked you this, so I'm going to do it now. You won a championship with those guys in Stock 1000. It's like, was there an opportunity to go back and race in Stock 1000 with them, or was it a cost thing, or did you say, well, I can work with Jarrett, so that's part of the reason to do Supersport?
Yeah, so we won the Stock 1000 championship in 2021, and then George wanted me back for the next year to do stock again, but that's when the M4 Superbike deal came up, and that was my goal back then, was to ride in Superbike. So I went that direction. But then, like I said, I maintained a good relationship with him throughout this past year. And then when I got the call in to do Supersport, I really enjoyed myself, and I really wanted to stay on a sport bike. With doing the Bagger and Hooligan classes is really fun, and the opportunity is good as far as making good money in those classes. But for me, it was important to stay on a sport bike as well. I mean, I've done that since I was pretty much 8 years old, and you just kind of need to keep your name in the hat for kind of both bikes. I mean, it's all the same series, but it's two completely different kind of industries, with the Bagger and Hooligan industry and then the sport bike industry, and just to try to stay relevant, and for myself to push myself to the maximum. I want to do good in Supersport as well.
Did you
we're going to go back a little bit, but did you learn a lot about yourself in those days when you were working for UPS? And did you think at that point, like, oh man, this could be the end of the racing for me? And did it make you want it that much more? And does it make you appreciate it that much more now that you have it back?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure. And a lot of the top riders really never have to experience that. And even for Matthew Skoltz, I mean, it's kind of a crappy situation for him. I mean, as far as the Westby deal folding up, just because he's had a secure ride for however many years ongoing now. But when you go get a real job and quit racing and don't have the opportunities to race, I mean, you're sitting at work. Like I was sitting at UPS unloading semis full of boxes each night, and like honestly not having much fun and liking it at all. So I think it's just a give and take situation, because a lot of racers do have to work and have a job. But for myself, I never really had a job, and my whole focus was racing there for many, many years. And even when I, had the factory opportunity, it was like you're living on the high life, and then you kind of get a reality check and realize it can get taken away at any point, and you're back to the real world. And this is what I love doing, is racing motorcycles. So I'm thankful to both teams, and that's why I just want to put in a lot of work this season and get them good results to repay them and be thankful for what I
have. Excuse me, Jake. So I want to ask you some more about what you were doing in Supersport and Super Stock as well, because you mentioned you like to be on sport bikes. What's the reason for that? Is it just like you like the speed, you like the performance, or what? I mean, what's going on there?
I mean, I just like the speed of it and performance as well, like you said. But I mean, the baggers and Hooligan bikes are pretty dang fun as well. It's just different sport bike. I've done it since I was 8 years old, and I just always my whole goal was to be Superbike champion, and I never even got a Superbike win, so that was a little bit of a bummer. But I just feel like if I stay at it, I can still have a shot at maybe eventually getting a top Superbike ride. You never know what the future can hold, but my goal this year is to fight for the Supersport championship. I mean, there's no way around that. That's my goal, and it's going to be a cutthroat season and a lot of talent in Supersport this season. But I feel like I'll be on a little bit better of equipment, honestly, than I was on last year. And fortunately, we're going to do a couple tests coming up here, and I think the bike's going to be really good, and the crew that the Altus guys have had it put together is going to be good for this year.
I want to talk about back home a little bit for you, because there were a few years ago, we did a video. We talked about the OWB gang. I mean, it was all you guys that were racing. And then there was a time where it almost got to the point where none of you guys were road racing at all. And I mean, Raj was retired, JD was off doing something. So we're kind of back again. I mean, Raj is in the paddock, obviously. You got JD back in Superbike. You're racing in 3 classes. Hayden is racing in 2 classes. And so is he in 2 classes? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. They haven't announced it, but.
Oh, okay. I better watch what I'm saying. Okay. Well, let's just talk about, but he's back. The only rider that I can think of is Nick McFadden, I guess. I mean, Nick's laying flooring or something last time I heard. What's going on with him?
He's flipping houses or something.
In flipping houses.
He's actually doing really well for himself. He's not really flipping houses anymore, but he actually has a business. Him and my buddy Drake, they started AAA Exteriors, which they do concrete, sidewalks, dirt work, clear land, all that kind of stuff, skid steer, mini excavation. So he's doing that, which is it's a bummer for him. I think he would still like to be racing, but now he's been out of the paddock since 2019, I believe. So it's just hard to get your foot back in the door. And for me, that was a big thing, to never leave the paddock, because I feel like once you're out, even for a year, people just forget about you. I mean, people even replace you within 2 rounds. So it's like,
right.
You have to stay relevant and try to put in the results and be respectful and keep good relationships with teams and people.
Yeah, and I think it was probably easier for Nick to transition to a role where he was like still his own boss. You know what I mean? Like doing his own business and things. I think it was better than going to work for somebody, because it probably doesn't feel as much like, working for the man, I
Yeah.
guess. And as far
Yeah, I
as you
think that's
guys
a
from
big.
as far as you guys from Kentucky, you're kind of like cockroaches. I mean, we just can't get rid of you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bummer there for a couple of years. I think Rod retired in 19 or
Yeah.
2018, maybe it was his last year, and then I didn't have a Rod in 2020, and JD was flat tracking. Hayden didn't race for a year or two, and it was a little bit depressing, to be honest, because we had always rode bicycles and dirt bikes back home, traveled to the races together, done a shit ton of pranks on each other, and it was a sad time there for a couple of years with not all of us racing. But now we have JD back in the road racing pits, Hayden, myself, so we're back traveling with each other and training and riding with each other again. So it's just like old times, except we're starting to be the veterans and get older.
Yeah, it was. I always remember those Roger videos of you guys sleeping.
It was always Jake. Jake was always sleeping.
Jake and Nick.
Yeah, even sleeping and golfing now. I've gotten huge into golf like this past year, and like we used to go back out on the par 3 course, and we'd be shirtless and pantsing each other on the greens and shit like that. Like that you're not supposed to do on a golf course. And now that I'm into it, I'm like, why would we ever do that? But we were kids and we didn't know any better.
So is the golf getting better?
Not really, no. But I enjoy playing a lot. I'm trying to get out at least twice a week throughout this past year, but the weather's so bad here in the wintertime, you can't really play any golf. So I'm ready for it to warm up, and I enjoy doing it. It's fun for me, and it's something new. It seems like all the racers are getting into it, so just something to do for sure. And it's an expensive hobby. It's like you got motorcycles and you got golf, so it's like pick the two things that spend a shit ton of money on.
It's funny when I see those videos. Well, not anymore because it's a little bit too cold. But even the last videos I saw, I'm like, holy crap! They're like playing in like it just looked like a piece of farmland or something that was dead. I'm like, that's a little different than what we're used to out here. But you're right. Well, it gets expensive.
Well, Paul, you may not. You may not even have this. Maybe you've heard of the term. Jake may have. I mean, out this way, they call it winter rules. It's like winter rules.
Yeah, you can improve your lie
at any time. So I'm like, it's winter rules year round.
There was no improving his lie without an airplane.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought about putting a couple holes. I live on unfortunately, I bought a piece of property with a pole barn house probably 4 years ago now, and I'm on like just shy of 13 acres, and I got a big turn track out in the field, but there's some open areas, and I've been thinking about putting 2 or 3 little holes out there to practice on just for fun, and you don't have to pay anything. Literally walk right out your back door and do that. And my teammate Corey West is a huge into golfing, and we always send each other stupid stuff on Instagram about golf. So I like it just as much as riding dirt bikes now, honestly.
It'd be cool to just have one hole, just like 150 yards or something.
It'd be really cool.
Because the hard part about building something like that is obviously the green, right? Because the greens, if it's good enough to putt on and all that, but you got the land, you could do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty cool.
I couldn't even do a pitch and putt over here.
Yeah, that's right. Into a Dixie cup or something. Jake, one other rider, actually family that I want to ask you about is we lost track a little bit of, Kelly Reese, but his son Gage Reese. Are they still in the area, Owensboro? And what do they race, or are they involved in it at all anymore?
Not 100% sure about if they're not involved with racing at all, but Kelly does last time I heard he does something with Tucker Distributing or something, but they actually live 10 minutes from my house.
Okay.
I just got some merchandise made up, some hats and beanies that I just posted on Facebook this morning, but he lives 10 minutes from my house, and the lady that made him is pretty much his neighbor. And it's funny enough, I saw Gage's little brother and Kelly's wife, Joy, at Planet Fitness. They go to the same gym as I do. So it's cool to still see them around town. And that's another unfortunate situation. The Rick Ridiculous team was a big operation there for a couple of years, and that shut down. But just like racing, you always have people coming in and out, and it seems like you can never really fully get away from it because we all love it.
Yeah, it's true. So for your situation regarding, if it's baggers or Hooligan or Supersport, before we get to Daytona, are you going to be able to do any testing? Do you know if either of the two teams you race for are going to do any testing for you?
Yeah, I'm actually flying out here in less than 10 days now, probably. We're going to head out to Podium Club, the track that Attack's been testing in Arizona.
Yes.
We're testing the Supersport bike for 2 days with them. So it'll be cool to share the track with Gagne and Peterson. And then I think Aussie Dave and Fong are going to be there on the sport bikes as well. So that'll be really good for us to the first shakedown of the bikes and 2 days. Helps a lot. And I know George, that's a big priority of his, is to at least get us 2 tests, maybe 3 tests before Atlanta. But we still have some time before Road Atlanta. You know, it's still probably 2 months away. And with us not doing the 200 is a little bit of a bummer, but we can really put our focus on the actual points paying races this season. And as for the bagger, I mean, those guys are slaving away at the Saddlemen shop just to get the bikes ready. And I don't know if we're going to test them or not. We have team meetings every Wednesday, and it seems like it's a slow process. And like I said earlier, it's just waiting on parts from Harley and different companies like that. And it'd be nice to get on the bike one day at least before Daytona. But if we don't, you know, at least this year I know what to expect going there as far as riding the bagger and Hooligan, because it'd be a bummer if I didn't have many laps on it. But we have last year's notes, and I think we'll definitely be more prepared heading there this year.
Yeah, when you're in these meetings with Team Saddlemen, does Dave Eckert himself run the meeting? And now that Patricia is like operations manager or whatever her deal is, does she get involved in telling you guys what to do? How's the dynamic right now?
Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy being a part of the team, and those guys. I mean, you know, they had shirts and hats made up last year. Saddlemen Race R&D, which they put racing and drinking team, but this year it seems to be a little bit more professional. And Dave Eckert has built a heck of a business as far as Saddlemen goes. You know, they stay super busy selling seats, and it's cool. You know, I flew out there in November and got the whole tour of the factory, and it's impressive how many workers they have and how much work they do each day. You know, every seat is made custom ordered. You know, they don't keep anything on the shelf, so it was cool to see that. And our team meetings are funny, you know, especially with Patricia not officially retiring, but she's going to help with team management, flights, hotels, you know, sponsors is a huge thing. She's been working hard for that. And, you know, she's Mexican, so she's pretty loud and can get feisty. And then
colorful vocabulary. Wow.
You know, when I heard when I heard the news that she was going to take that role, I'm like, wow, that's a perfect position for her, because she's so bubbly and positive and happy. And I remember I was walking by in the paddock there, and she was walking the other way, and I said, "Hey, you all good?" And she goes, "It's hard to not be good when you look this good." And I'm like, you got a point there. I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
but
and I mean, props to her as well, because I mean, honestly, she's helped the team as far as sponsorship wise, huge. And then rider wise, I mean, myself, Travis, and Corey helping us personally. You know, I'm happy to be with Mission Foods for the year as a personal sponsor. And then leather wise, you know, she's designing and helping the colors on both Supersport and bagger leathers, and she gets shit done. So thankful to her. And then the rest of the team, you know, when we have these Zoom meetings once a week, and literally the whole crew's in there, myself, Travis, Corey, and then everyone at the shop. So it's good, and it keeps the team, you know, connecting and seeing each other each week.
yeah, it's a good idea.
How obviously you know Corey West pretty well. How well do you know Travis Wyman as a person? I mean, he's fairly introspective. In fact, not even fairly. I think he's very introspective. He's a really good guy, but he keeps a lot kind of close to the vest. He's not a loud he's like the opposite of Patricia, I think. So do you know him well? Do you talk to him? Or obviously you will.
I mean, honestly, I don't really know him that well at all.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It seems like we've raced each other a lot, or not really a lot. We've been in the paddock around each other a lot, but we haven't really raced each other besides Stock 1021 and then last year in baggers. And we didn't even talk that much then. So it'll be cool. You know, it's always nice to meet, I wouldn't say meet new people, but have new teammates, because I don't really know much about Travis's life and stuff like that. But Corey and myself get along really good. And, you know, even before last year, I wouldn't say I had the perfect relationship just because I didn't know much about him. We were teammates back in the day with Vezra, but when you're teammates with someone, like, you're spending all year and a lot of time with them, so you get to know them on a personal level, which is exciting, and it should be a good season.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna put
did Patricia get the front of the truck to herself for changing, or and you guys had to be out somewhere else?
Good question.
No, actually not. And we didn't technically have like a rider's lounge last year in the old semi. So I would even get dressed out in the pits, and that was a big thing. Like if you came by our pits, like it was always lively with cooking and a ton of food, good food, and the bikes. But I think this year the team actually got a new semi, and that's one of Dave's priorities is to make the team look more professional and more presentable, because we're pretty much pitted right beside or across from Factory Harley all the time. So I think this year it'll look better, and that's one of our goals is just to look more presentable and run up front.
So,
but no, we didn't get dressed together.
I didn't mean it that way.
Well, it's a good question. Hey, Jake,
wait, Corey's calling me. No.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute, and we'll exclude Corey from this because he's your most recent teammate, and even Patricia. Who's the best teammate you've ever had?
Man, that's a tough question. I've been racing since I was 16 is when I turned pro back in AMA. So that was 2012, and I've been on a lot of teams since then.
It's probably hard to pinpoint anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to pinpoint someone off the top of my head. Obviously me and Nick were teammates back at M4, and we're best friends. I mean, we've grown up with each other since we were 4 years old. Roger, I lived with him and did everything with him, so he was cool to have as a teammate. But as far as relationship wise, really my current teammate, Corey and Jarrett, like we talk all the time and send each other stupid shit on Instagram. So I just think I've kept the best relationship with those two guys. But I've had a lot of teammates, and it's like I said, it's always cool to meet new people and be teammates with someone each year because you learn more about them. But those two are the most closest friends of mine. And it just seems like, you switch classes it's weird, but if you're in Superbike, you're just friends and talk to the Superbike guys. If you're in baggers, you're just friends and talk with the bagger guys. And it's weird because, I used to talk to Skoltz and Peterson and those guys in Superbike. And then the next year when I wasn't in Superbike, it's like you don't really talk to them as much. And it's weird. Like the paddock's big and then it's small at the same time. Like you have your whole little clique you run around with and talk to.
Yeah, a good example of that. You mentioned about the Saddlemen team last year, and I was surprised. Most of the time I saw you were kind of with that team. You guys were sitting at one of those tall tables, round tables or whatever, together and talking and stuff. And if I needed to find you, I'd usually go there rather than try to go over, just with Disrupt. And that's not taking anything away from Disrupt at all. It just seems like maybe it's because it was what did you call it? The drinking and the what team? Oh,
racing and drinking.
Racing and drinking. Yeah.
Now, don't forget eating.
Yeah. No, my motto is pay to play, baby. And Saddlemen was the one paying me last year. And Jesse, I was just kind of, I wouldn't say doing him a favor, like we both work together good, but I would definitely spend more of my time over at Team Saddlemen. But it's going to be tough this year because as far as playing that aspect as Saddlemen and Altus, because they're both big teams, they both have semis, and as far as doing autograph signings and stuff like that, you gotta find a happy medium with both teams and figure that stuff out. So looking forward to that, and I don't think it'll be a big issue. Definitely try to present both teams the best I can.
Okay, boys, I think we're out of time. I can't believe the Kentucky phone system only effed up once.
No, what happened is actually I was getting a phone
it's gonna
call.
wait. It's gonna be his fault.
No, I got a phone
so
call.
You thought it was okay to answer it?
No, I tried to reject it, and it connected to that phone. So then it screwed us all up.
No worries. It all worked out fine.
Hey, Paul, one more thing real quick. I always like to do this. Hey, Jake, shout out to your mom, too. Is your mom going to be in the paddock this year? I always love to see her.
Yeah, she'll be there at most of the tracks. So, Daytona's only 40-something days away now.
Yeah.
So it's coming up quick, and definitely already talking about travel and doing all that stuff. So that's a big thing for me is just having family there, my mom and also my girlfriend, Blair. I like having people at the track that know me away from the track because sometimes the track can be stressful and it's nice to go back to the hotel with people you love and hang out with all the time. But looking forward to traveling around the U.S. racing motorcycles again this year.
So good. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you, and
Yeah.
we'll see you down in Daytona. Keep up the training. Push away
Yeah,
from the table. Push away from the table a little sooner, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, we're on it. Blair, she's lived with me full time for a year now, and we used to go out and eat all the time, but we've been cooking at home. And some people on my team, like Patricia, thinks that I'm not going to stick with it, and she thinks I'm going to drink with the boys again when we get to the track. But I told her I'm not drinking at all till I at least win another race, and I'm fully focused for this year and want to do good.
That's a good goal.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.